Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so crazy?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our We will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
All right, Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar responding to her state's massive welfare fraud scandal, pinning the blame not on the criminals, but those working to protect the American people.
If there was a linkage in that the money that they had stolen going to terrorism, then that is a failure of the FBI and our court system in not figuring that out and basically charging them.
Host of My View, Laura.
I tell you, you just came. That president was right. A bunch of garbage. Garbage culture. They ought to walk her out with her hands behind her back. It ought to be a full-blown investigation and check her finances. Check everything. I think everybody down there is dirty. Everybody involved. Walk up to that governor, walk everybody. It's out. But that president, the 47th president of the United States was right. Old Donnie was right. DJT was right. They ought to be ashamed of themselves, man. You know, and then come up on the fake news media early on an early Sunday morning, and she up there laughing and freezing and panicking. but you see, you know, what a disgrace, man.
Trump joins us now. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. So what do you think about that explanation there? Ilhan Omar saying that if taxpayer money did in fact go to the al-Shabaab terrorist organization, it would be a failing on the part of the FBI for not figuring it out.
Yeah, she sounded super confident in that answer, didn't she, Carly? She could not figure out how she was going to convince people that that was the case, but she said it anyway. It's ridiculous. Of course, the only failure here is from the people who are in leadership positions in Minnesota who allowed this fraud scheme to happen. And I'm looking at Ilhan Omar and I'm looking at Tim Walz, and they really are in the crosshairs of this whole thing. And a lot of people are wondering how it is humanly possible that this was allowed to happen. And this thing is huge. You talk to the White House and they have said, look, this is probably so much bigger and far reaching than just Minnesota. We know $1 billion was stolen from the taxpayers there in Minnesota. The White House says it actually is probably just scratching the surface. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And, you have...
Like I told y'all in previous videos on the show, we are just scratching the surface with all this. And we've been covering it for so long, but I told y'all, it's going to be way more that come out from this. Just watch. Just watch. And all we're going to do is come on here and break the news and get into it. Just watch what I tell y'all. We are just scratching the surface, man. And I tell you, we went back and looked at those numbers, and I'm telling y'all, man, people ought to be ashamed of themselves, and people need to be held accountable. And I tell you, a full-blown investigation, check everybody's finances. It needs to be audits. People thrown against the wall, thrown against the floor. It ought to be a sweep. It ought to be a sweep. There's a lot of sweeps that need to take place, man. And not just down there in Minnesota. It's a lot of sweeps that need to take place.
The Treasury saying we do have connections through millions of dollars they think was sent to Somalia, and that ultimately did end up in the hands of terrorists, as al-Shabaab terrorists. And so I think that's, of course, a ridiculous answer, but you're going to hear a lot more of that from Ilhan Omar, from Tim Walz. They're going to do a lot of jazz hands and trying to convince people to look the other way, because they are, again, the ones that everyone is looking at and saying, how is it that you were either so grossly grossly incompetent or maybe willfully incompetent that you allowed this to happen in the state of Minnesota. Minnesota deserves better. The American people deserve better. And you know what? The only way they're going to clear their names is by asking for a full-throated, deep investigation and holding those responsible accountable for this.
Yeah, Laura, this is a pretty brazen time to be going on offense against the Trump administration after such a ridiculous fraud. Stephen Miller said that this is one of, if not the biggest frauds in American history, a waste of taxpayer money. And Omar is going back at Stephen Miller. Listen to what she had to say.
I mean, when I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric.
White supremacist rhetoric. Yeah, that pissed me off yesterday when I covered this. That pissed me off. You know, because we didn't caught you, man. We caught you in your community. You're garbage. The president was right. But when we call it out for what it is, you know, it's white supremacist rhetoric. It's Nazis. It's this. It's that. I'm sick of it. They ought to walk this hell out. They should have walked out live on Face the Nation. And then while we at it, can we just shut Face the Nation down? The hell with CBS News.
It reminds me, yes, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people in.
Oh man, I tell you, man, it make me. I know y'all feel the same way. It make you hotter than fish grease. But you should be hotter than fish grease. And I tell. They say, Rick, sir, please stop talking, sir. Rick, calm. Rick, sir, don't get the rambling, Rick. Rick, your blood pressure is gonna shoot up, Rick. Your blood pressure is gonna shoot up.
In Germany.
So a reminder for our viewers, Stephen Miller is Jewish. Laura, your response to those comments.
Yeah, Nate, this is the knee-jerk reaction we know of anybody on the left to try to call people, conservatives and people, especially in the Trump administration, Nazis. Of course, as you pointed out, Stephen Miller is Jewish. That is absolutely.
But that's all they revert back to. That's all they revert back to. They have nothing else. And it's sad, man. That we got to keep hearing that crap over and over and over and over. The same crap over and over and over and over. White people, white supremacists, Nazis, fascists, the same crap over and over and over. Hitler, threat to democracy. I'm so sick of hearing democracy. I'm so sick of hearing it.
Absolutely insane. But this is what you say whenever you have no response. This is what you say to deflect from your failure as a congresswoman from this area in Minnesota. That should surprise absolutely nobody. What we're trying to see happen now as a country is transparency brought everywhere. That's what this administration, this president is about. We want to know at the end of the day who failed the people of Minnesota here. And I can guarantee you, the FBI we have now is much different than the FBI under Joe Biden. They will look into this. They will investigate. They will find out exactly what happened. And I think Ilhan Omar is probably going to be doing a lot of tap dancing in the foreseeable future, because I don't think she's got a lot of good explanations for how $1 billion from her state just, went missing from the taxpayer funding.
Well, Governor Tim Walz is also up for re-election, so we will have to wait and see if this scandal is big enough to change the hands of political power in the state as well. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you as always.